Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it may be, you beautiful people, at the time that you are listening to this podcast. I am your host, Miss U'nique, and welcome in. Welcome to Beyond Unique Shattered Dreams, where every shattered dream becomes a sometimes harsh reality. And on today's story time, if anyone have been keeping up with the episodes at all or listening to previous episodes, my last episode, episode 8, I discussed my homeless mission, right? And the mission that the Father, which for those who are listening, I call God, which I call God the Father, which he put me on because I said I wanted to be out there with the people, right? So if you haven't heard the beginning of that and you're listening to this, go back to episode 9, I believe. I'm sorry if I said 8 earlier. It's episode 9. And so I just want to tell about this summer that I did this homeless ministry, right? So I'm down the street from my home, not too far. I'm a few blocks from my home. God has had me find this little spot that's kind of like a park, but it's real small, real tiny, and I believe that they also used it as a memorial spot for the pastors or the not just pastors but people in the community that have done like these great contributions in the community, and some of them were like pastors and aldermen, things like that. So they had like those, what are those, those bricks, the bricks where they put your name on there and then they kind of put them in the, I guess, cemented them, in the sidewalk, and they had benches with people's names on there and a little flower bed and things like that. So that was this little area right here that God had brought me to. So every morning I'm coming out here. On the third morning, you got to go back to hear what happened the first 2 mornings. But on the third or fourth morning, I got my niece to come with me. And she would come out with me. And we would just pray, and we would pick up all the stuff, that's all the trash that had happened the night before and things like that. And so we would go around picking up the trash, because I'm like, this area needs to be nice, needs to be clean, and and we want to see God here, right? We want to see God's presence here. So this area needs to be clean and all of that. So we would go through and and pick up all the stuff and clean it, all the stuff. If you don't know, if you didn't listen to episode 9, all the stuff is the paraphernalia. This is a park where the homeless people would sit, the prostitutes would sit, the drug dealers would sit, the gangbangers would sit, and they would either drink and smoke and have all this paraphernalia and and cigarette butts and different and beer bottles and cans and just all the stuff, right? So we would clean that up and create like this amazing feeling atmosphere. We would have the that little pill that I told you about, right? The little pill that's like a speaker. We would have that. That's what I started out with for like the first week. And I would have praise and worship on, and I would turn that little pill up, and I would do praise and worship on that. And God told me, for those that have not listened to the previous episode, the Father told me that if you would come every morning and you would show up every morning at this time, I will bring the people. And I'm telling you, that was quite a summer. Some things happened in this summer. The devil definitely didn't want me to be doing this at all. And one of the people I want to talk about, couple people in the episode 9, the previous episode, I talked about the first lady who tried to stop me. And that was like just night 2, right? So as we move on through the nights and through the early morning days, I ended up getting this, it was a guy that would go past, and he just, let's just say, you just kind of knew that some things might have been not all the way right with him, but he would come past and he would put his hands over his ears, right, to the music. And apparently he was being bothered. By listening to this music, or the fact that this music was on. And he would come by there and he would always put his hands over his ears and seem to be so bothered by the fact that this music was playing, and he couldn't take it, and his little spirit just could not take it. But yet he would always pass it, right? He would always pass it, and he would always come by there. And so I just would notice him. He was quite a character. There were definitely some characters in the area, and we had some pretty awesome things that transpired in that little space. So I eventually graduated from that pill that I told you to like a speaker, to like one of those big portable speakers that you can kind of like roll. Well, this one didn't roll, but it was like one of those big like box, speakers where you got like the microphone that's attached to it, probably something that the street preachers would use or whatever. So it was one of those. So I had one of those. So, okay. Then I was able to really turn up. I was able to not turn up like that, but literally turn up the music. I was able to turn that up, and I had this praise and worship music going, and oh my goodness. This guy across the street, man, when I tell you, I just knew the devil sent him for sure, because this man just couldn't stand me. He called the police on me all summer long. Like, all I'm out here just doing God's work. I'm just talking to the people. I'm bringing them water, feeding. I'm just doing God's work. And he would call them, and they would have to tell me, they would tell me that it was him, that, somebody was called. But I knew that it was him, because he would come out and just mean mug me from across the street, never came over, right? He'll come up only so close to this little circular area, but he never would come, he never would come in. But he was so bothered by the music, so bothered by the fact that we gathered and we were praying and things like that. And he just was just all summer long, to the point that the cops got tired. To the point that they just got tired of coming. They already knew what it was about, but yet still showed up. One day they showed up, and we're like praying. And so I got like the neighborhood, like the young boys in the neighborhood. They're like, some maybe gangbangers, some just like to fight, different things like that. But nevertheless, they were in the circle. So we came to pray, not we came, but they came, and we're praying at the time. So it's like 10 of us. It's me, my niece, and these neighborhood guys. Everybody's in the circle holding hands or whatever. And I look up and peek up. And the police are right there, but they're not in the circle. So they're like outside of the circle. It's like, I don't know, like God had some kind of protection or something happening right there in that circle, right? And so they were like right outside of that circle. And I look up and I'm like, hey, you want to come join us? I was like, you want to come join us in prayer? They're like, no, no. They got their hands up there, shaking their hair like, no, no, we're good. We're okay. We're okay. Like that. I'm like, okay, you sure? And so they allowed us to finish praying. They allowed us to finish praying and doing the things, and stuff. And then after that, then they told us the exact same thing. Okay, that they tell us almost, every other day or something like that. Then they told us that there was this noise requirement. So we had because I had the speaker on, that I couldn't have it up that loud until I guess after 7 or something like that, or something, right? Okay, no problem. Noise ordinance or something that it's called, no problem at all. But that guy, he just all summer long, then come to find out there was some stuff that was going on with him. And I was like, see, that that makes sense. But come to find out, he worked in the school, right? Or something like that. And there were some not okay things that was going on with him and the school and some stuff that he was doing. And I think he ended up actually going to jail. Okay, at some point he ended up going to jail. See what I'm saying? You try to come against God's work, and things may happen. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Especially when nobody is bothering you, sir. Nobody is bothering you. We're trying to feed the homeless out here. We're trying to help the people out here. And here you are, angry, bitter, calling the police all the time, right? So that was that guy. But we began to have great things transpire. We had a young guy that had came through there. He had just got through fighting or something like that. And oh my God, he was just like dripping blood from his hand, from his fist. We don't know what the world transpired, what took place, but they were so angry and so mad. And then they came into this circle and they didn't really know what they were walking into, right? But he was talking about how upset he was with the other guy and stuff like that. And, I was like, well, what happened to your hand? And he said, and I punched a wall or hit a wall or something. So I took his hand. And as I'm talking to him, I'm just cleaning his hand and this blood dripping. I'm just cleaning his hand off. And I don't even think that he's noticing that he's like all fired up and stuff. But he starts to calm down and, and I'm just talking to him about his situation and telling him everything's going to be okay. And then I start, talking to him. Started talking to them about God. So that was an interesting situation for sure. I would have people come by and tell me, keep doing what you're doing. This is amazing. I love waking up to this music, this worship music, especially in this neighborhood. You all have to understand, this was like the heart of the inner city. So there was everything that could be going on, okay, in this area. Like I said, drug dealers and prostitutes. It was the homeless was there. It just was a lot was going on. But I would do a couple of events in that park where I would make hamburgers and hot dogs and have water and free Bibles and different things like that, and play different worship music and just Christian music, different things like that, just for the neighborhood, because that space in the neighborhood just was so downtrodden, so broken, so destitute. It just was a lot of needy people, unfortunate tragedies and things like that has transpired. But that was an interesting summer for sure. My niece did it with me for the entire summer, and we seen some pretty awesome things transpire. And as the episodes go on, I will definitely talk about some of those different encounters separately. But I just wanted to give you all a little bit more about the homeless mission that the Father had me on. Yeah. And I just hope that this can encourage you all to whatever it is that is in your heart, or whatever it is that you are, is just a burning passion inside of you to do, especially if it's for God's people. Do it. Okay, do it. Don't do it to be seen, but do it because it feels good. Do it because, it makes your heart feel warm. Don't do it to get any recognition, because God is recognition enough, right? And when it's time for him to elevate you, he will. And when it's time for your elevation, you will rise, and people will see you. But do it because you feel that it's the right thing to do. So as I end this story time here today, join me next week for another story time where we will be breaking barriers and healing those shattered dreams, one story at a time. Bye.